Anyway. Hello and welcome to episode 223 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. It's the 21st of October and it's the obligatory day to tweet about how we beat Man United on this day in 2017. The type of cheap engagement farming that you'll, of course, never find us doing. But what have we been doing since that famous old day, boys? Well, we'll take a look in a minute. Town once again beset by injuries befell more this weekend, and so has the podcast. This week we welcome back the Bear Killer and the morphined up Johnny Gillespie. Johnny, what's happened?
Oh, it's too long a story. Spent a week in the lovely
Got
NHS
60 minutes to fill here, mate. So
yeah, back out now and on the mend. So that's the main thing. Just another injury to add to the big long injury list around Huddersfield Town, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure that counts, but it counts for the podcast. We've got a couple down at the minute. Right, first things first, boys. 7 years ago, 7 years when the big Belgian bear rounded De Gea, and honestly, I remember being in the stadium at that point, and it just felt like everything froze. It's like, what's everything sort of stops, and he just kind of like he can like press different things and what have you. But it just felt like everything froze for a minute when he went round him, and it's like, we're gonna go 2-0 up against Man United here, and it was an incredible day, really, wasn't it, for a Huddersfield fan? Because we've been rubbish for so long, haven't we? And then also went on this magic run that David Wagner took us on, and that was kind of, I think, the peak moment of the Wagner reign, wasn't it? Everything had gone up at that point. And then just after that, I think that was the very top of the mountain. I think everything sort of slowly came down after that. I know we stayed up and there was the nights at Chelsea, etc. But for me, that was the day that the Wagner era peaked. And I'll argue that that's the day that everything changed for the worse after we beat Man United. It's a strange argument that some people will be like, what are you on about? But that was the day for me, Killer, whereby Town and Wagner changed tact to combat someone, because we'd obviously had the Spurs game, hadn't we, where we had our gegenpressing style and everything, and we got pumped 4-0 at home, didn't we, to Spurs. Man United, where he went much more defensive, went to a 4-3-3 shape, in a lot off the ball. We were pretty much 11 men behind the ball, defending the box, and we won. And it was that win which kind of opened the gate, if you like, for Town to go that way more often. And I think that was the start of going away from the philosophy which got us where we were. But it was still an amazing day, wasn't it? You still got to relive it. And I mean, Aaron Moy scored. There's so many good performances that day. And Johnny, surely it makes your bad ankle feel better when you watch those videos and you realise that we were quite decent once upon a time.
Yeah, it's quite surprising looking back and actually remembering that it happened. And it's quite scary thinking that was actually 7 years ago. But yeah, I mean, as we all were, most people listening to this podcast, we grew up in a place where you've got kind of big Premier League teams around you. Even more so in this day and age, kind of like your supporting local team happens less and less. I grew up in the playground where I was one of only few that had a Town shirt, and most Man United, Liverpool of that time. And yeah, I remember kind of thinking to myself when we were turning up, it's almost like for that young child in that playground that never believed we'd even get the Premier League, let alone kind of be at home watching Man United, who I know I've dipped a little bit, but they're still the pinnacle team. It's still Man United. It's still that one team. If you kind of put who are the main team of the Premier League, you still say Man United. To beat them 2-1 and to be 2-0 up at any point in time. I've still got a picture of the scoreboard because I still at that point in time didn't believe we're going to come out with a win. I thought it's 2-0. It says 2-0. I'm taking the picture and I'll hold on to that probably as, like you say, the pinnacle for the rest of the time. But yeah, it was a fantastic moment. And doing football is cyclical. We've kind of turned around the circle now a little bit. There's nothing to say that we can't go and just do something so amazing again. But yeah, it absolutely was an incredible moment. I think anyone that was in the ground, you'll never forget that.
It showed the potential of the club as well, because I remember they sold tickets for the TV gantry, and there was people sat in the TV gantry watching the game. I could see them from my angle as well, and there were thousands. Literally, I remember Sean Jarvis saying there was something like between close. I think they were close to 20 that day, which is phenomenal, really, when you think about how many that is. And then I think talks of extending the stadium happened at that time, and everyone got way ahead of themselves, didn't they, after a couple of weeks in the Premier League. But Cozzy as well, that old day must have made the bald man cry. Am I right?
Yeah, one of my best drinking days in the drinking day era. But I'll never forget the gas pub, mate. Like I said, it was peak. The rain, the pour down, but I just remember the season. Literally, no one wanted to go home. It was unbelievable, mate. I remember going to Vulcan after them, people dancing on tables. I'll never forget Mourinho coming on Sky Soccer
In
Saturday.
the I thought you were going to say Mourinho was in the Vulcan for a minute.
No, not as good as that.
That'd be a sight.
In an interview he came on, everyone were just cheering. Because to be fair, I think he praised us, didn't he? I didn't think he were. I think
That
he
was
was
their first defeat. Their first defeat that season in the league. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was just because, like I say, we'd had a little bit of dip at just before. I remember before that game we were struggling a little bit, and it just came out of nowhere. But I just remember thinking of the 5 minutes. They'd have ended up winning because they must have scored, didn't he? Oh, come on. But I just remember it just being like the Alamo last 20 minutes. But yeah, I don't know if it's meant to cheer us up, Matt, but obviously Saturday we're playing Exeter City at home, and it's what can you say? I'm sorry if that were meant to cheer us up. Maybe that should have been at the end, but just shows how football can go quick, mate. I mean, I did a recording with a Wrexham guy on Friday, and when we were in that, probably at that moment, they were in National League, like in bottom half. It's like things can change quick. So, like you were saying there, Johnny, let's hope they change quick again for us, and we can maybe get back to something like that. Maybe get back to like 1920s football when we were good. But yeah, it would be lit, mate. And I just remember, it's not often you go around Huddersfield, everyone's like happy and cheerful and stuff, but everywhere you went, mate, were just so special. And I'll never forget as well, we got home, I was so drunk, I was surprised I could see it, but match of the day, we were the first game on, I remember that. And
I've still got that on my skybox upstairs. It's that old as a skybox, it's still there.
Oh, mate, fantastic moment.
Right, since that moment, 7 years ago, we've played 332 games in 7 years. Crazy. League and Cup. Guess how many of those we've won since that day? See, we'll go for a bit of a Bruce Forsyth cards are right here. I mean, it's not exactly Cosy versus the world, is it? But you know, Cosy, go on, you go first. How many?
332.
Yeah, how many have we won in League and Cup?
Oh, Jesus Christ! I would say 71.
Cosy says 70.
Nah, it must be more.
Say that again, Johnny. Flipped.
So I'm not being tactical, but I had my head 72, so I'm going to stick with it. But it was weird that it's so close.
Going one up.
Killer, are you going 73? Are you going to mute yourself first as well?
Take your mute off for the lads. Take your mute off for the lads.
The mute
slapped on it.
No, there we go. Is that better? We all right now?
I'll go with 73. I could lip read. So.
No, I'm going 70. I'm going just try under if I can. Just to really sandwich you in there.
You're all wrong. Huddersfield Town have actually won 93 games. It doesn't feel as many as that, does it? 93
like
games.
Real Madrid fan, isn't it? No problem.
Yeah. But we have lost 155, which is 46.6% of all games since then we've lost. We've scored 361 goals and conceded 506. Wow. Enough to give me a bad back. Never mind the Town goalkeeper is that. Let's move on to the current day then. Huddersfield Town 3, Bristol Rovers 1. A little bit of a playback from 1995 with Bristol Rovers in that kit as well, which was quite nice, especially for people of a nostalgic mind like mine. But before the game, we had the news Huddersfield's is shite and boring, which was fun. Nice to see in the press conference. And he's moved to Leeds. So welcome over to the dark side, Bojan. And we also heard that Reece Healy was ill in midweek for the B team and wasn't injured, which was a bit of relief as well. The team killer. I hoped we'd go with the Kane. And when we did the driving, I hoped we'd go with the Kane and Kasumu combination, but we felt that Duff might use this game to throw Hoggy back in and play safe, but he didn't. He picked a decent attacking team, didn't he? And got the rewards.
Yeah, well, we spoke about this. I fancied Hogg to play back in this. I thought Bristol Rovers would actually offer more, and we need a little bit more of a defensive structure, especially with Lees coming in at the back. My issue was if we have Pearson and Lees and Kane, because up until recently, Kane was, as we argued the other day, Matt, to me, less mobile than Johnny Hogg. Whereas it doesn't seem to be the case anymore, does it? I was surprised with it. I didn't think that's what we'd go with. But the point that we made is that if Duff ever had an opportunity to have a good go with a more attacking midfield, this would be it. And now I didn't think we were ready for it. But to be fair to Duff, he got it spot on, because from the first minute until when the game was already won, more or less, we dominated. We dominated that entire game. And Herbie Kane, Duff spoke about it in his press conference before the previous game, I think, didn't he? About how when Herbie Kane came back from pre-season, he wasn't where he wanted to be. And now I think we can add 2 and 2 together there and suggest it's something fitness related, of course. Maybe he's back at where he's at now, because he definitely looks more mobile than he has done since joining us. And as a midfield unit, especially with Wiles up front in that midfield three on his own, dictating whatever he wants to, Herbie Kane's filling a real niche in there. And I thought he was really, really good. And fair play to Duff for going with it, because I wouldn't have.
Sorensen went down straight away, injured after like 3 minutes. I mean, we just can't catch a break. The next time I do some stats, I'll go through how many injuries we've had over the last few years, because it's genuinely just horrendous, isn't it? Even since, I mean, you go back to 2020, and I think we had one season where we finished third, didn't we? Where we didn't get as many injuries as we thought we would. But the last several years have just been awful. And Sorensen, we hope, isn't as bad as it looked, or as bad as a hamstring a little bit. But according to Michael Duff in the pre-match press conference today, I managed to say that without falling over my words. He hopes it's not as bad as what it could be. But Ollie Turton came on, and Ollie Turton for me has been a player who can be a little bit guilty of being a player on the back foot. But he came on, he was very front-footed, very forward-thinking, and he took his chance, didn't he? Because of Ollie Turton, I thought he was really good when he came on. He was very positive. I know his final ball's not always quite there, but everything he did was pretty good, wasn't it? And I think he was taken off towards the end of the game, just a little bit tired after not playing that many minutes recently. But for me, that was a heartwarming performance that Ollie Turton came on and put in, and he certainly grabbed the bull by the horns, didn't he?
It made me realise, Matt, that the expectations, obviously, the fan base is, we'll come on to later on, but we've got a good squad, mate.
Jumping the agenda again.
Yeah, I know, that proper rips it up. We can finish after that. But no, you've got, when you bring an Ollie Turton on as a backup, who's not really had much of a look in, you should be expecting to do really well. And it made me, it's not like, God, I'm really, but I don't know. You've got some teams who'll just put a makeshift midfielders right back and kind of get on with it until transfer window. We're lucky. We've got a lot of quality. Knock him out. This is debatable, the quality, let's be honest. But it was really good. I didn't see the I'm going to go to JPT. I think Steve Chicken's going to the Bristol Street Motors against Barnton, but he played well in that. And to me, I think it's been a bit unfortunate, but obviously new manager, horrific injury, and being well out of the plan. So I wonder what it's always like, Matt. You obviously want your teammates to do well, but honestly, you was to play for some teams, but when you're sitting on that bench, I'm not saying you're thinking, get in there, someone's got injured. But I'm just thinking, this is my chance. This is my moment now to really show the new manager what I'm about. And you must, it's brutal, isn't it? Because I heard Ian Holloway mention about management, you're wanting someone to lose the job just to get back in. And it's like a brutal kind of industry, really. There's not many ways you do that to get your chance, but he's sat there just, I'm not saying he's hoping that Sorensen and that, the old famous, signal and he's coming off, but this is his chance now to put a real stamp on it. And in the same way that Jacob Chapman's kind of taken his chance and, he's even though Maxwell's fit now, he's kind of seems to be the number one until obviously Nichols comes back. I think this is a big moment for Turton as well. And yeah, he did well, Matt. And after that serious injury as well, he looked like he had, we're blowing a bit at the end, understandably. But I just thought this is a guy who, normally you're thinking is a dip in quality. Sorensen's obviously started there and I don't know, found out, but he's not, he's having to find his way back in after, let's be honest, being dropped out of the team as well. So I think it's good we've got this competition, Matt, for places. And well, obviously we don't want a long-term injury to Sorensen, and I was sad that it has happened to that as well. There's not many clubs where you're thinking, oh my God, look who's coming on now at fullback. And yeah, I thought he did well. The big problem we've got is all these games coming up, and straight away we've got a tough game tomorrow night, and he's going to have to start, I imagine, from the start, unless Duff's got other ideas. But yeah, I was pleased, mate. He obviously divides opinion. Ginger Cafu, I know, if I'm being honest, mate, I might not tell any secrets, but I don't think you're his biggest fan, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm thinking a level down. Ollie Turton could do a job for us, and yeah, I thought he did well on Saturday.
I mean, you can't argue with him as a League One backup player, can you? To be fair, let's move on. So I think looking at I don't really want to go into the Wrexham game, but there's a choice there now, isn't there? That there's potentially Brodie Spencer can play right wing back as well after doing quite well as a left wing back for Northern Ireland last week. So there's certainly options, and Ollie Turton's still got competition there, which can only be good, and Tom Lees has as well, and because he played quite well at the back, but Brodie Spencer is a player with pace who can offer something different. So it's interesting. we had a penalty shout quite early on. Callum Marshall, from my viewpoint, seemed to get his heels clipped. I'm quite far away, quite high up and relatively far away, and it looked like he had his heels clipped, but I couldn't 100% tell what happened. It was one of those where the defender came across him, and you saw Marshall's heels hit together and him go down, and nothing happened, and you're sort of thinking, wasn't that a penalty? Wasn't that a Stonewall penalty? But there's absolutely no replays of it anywhere. I can't find a replay for. I'm gonna have to watch the whole game back.
I saw it straight away.
How do you sit when you were in the ground? How have you seen it? Do you sit there with like your phone as well on iFollow?
I can't possibly comment outside, but I did see a replay of it pretty much straight away, and maybe Danny Smith, who was a fan of the podcast, he was sat next to me, and we both watched it, and we were up like, come on, that's a penalty, but we were unconvinced, to be honest with you, when we saw it back. But I think the thing is, it's like we were, obviously, Matt, you're at the same side of the ground as me this season, and we were at maybe the other side of it. But he was convinced, to be honest with you. But I must admit, you never know what, say, if VAR was in and what have you. I don't think there'd be enough evidence to like overturn anything really on the pitch. I didn't think it. I thought it was at the time, to be fair. I thought decent shout, but looked on the replay and thought, no, really. I don't know if he tripped his own feet up, Matt. He was a bit weird.
I saw his feet hit together. I didn't know whether it was because the defender had clipped it first. I couldn't real time. So and to be fair, I'll cover it in a bit, but the referee does do us a favour, quite a few favours later on. And I'll be honest, I'm probably one of the first on the podcast to have a dig at a referee if some of the decisions we've been on the end of, in my opinion, over the last few years is incredible. And like I say this all the time, but the person who says it equals out or evens out over the course of the season talks the biggest pile of shite I think I've ever heard in my life, because there's absolutely no way that it does. However, yesterday there's a couple of incidents which we'll come over, we'll come to on the first two goals, and we'll look into. But set pieces are improving a bit as well, aren't they? Anthony Evans takes a great corner, but out of Anthony Evans and Sorba Thomas, obviously, who's gone on to none, no one else has really stepped up with anything decent until the weekend, where Ben Wiles has made a couple of decent set pieces. And Ben Wiles obviously has his fan club where Killer is the president, lifetime president, obviously. And he put quite a few decent balls into the box. And the first one, Tom Lees, added to his list of almost goals Killer this season, didn't he? He had his headed, that header was a good header, cleared off the line. And then another decent ball in from Wiles. And Matty Pearson does incredibly well to score from this, because if you watch when the ball's coming over, the defender's pretty much wrapped both hands around his shirt. It could have been a penalty if he doesn't get it anyway at some point. But he's wrapped both hands around, and Matty Pearson is just so strong, just shrugs it off and spins and does an old bit of a Mark Hughes, isn't it, into the roof of the net. It's a great finish. And however, when you watch the replay back, the ball is well outside the quadrant of the corner flag and probably should have been disallowed. You are allowed to put the ball outside the quadrant, so it overhangs. So that's the rule. So you can have the end of the ball overhanging. That's not overhanging, but the shadow's barely overhanging.
It was Vulcan with ball. It was Vulcan.
It might as well have been in the south stand, but we've got away with one there, I think. It's a great finish in it from Matty Pearson from being static in the box with a defender with his both hands round his waist. He's done incredibly well to score there. And talk about Matty Pearson as well, because I was watching him at the weekend, and the way he's walking and his body language, he just looks like a presence at the minute. He just looks like someone who's in form, someone who means business, and he's been incredibly good the last few weeks. He's been. I think a lot of people wrote him off when he got sent off against Walsall. We probably did if we look back through our WhatsApp comments. There's a lot of throw back in against Reading. He's been incredible for me as Matty Pearson. He's been strong. He's got moved to right centre back, which Killer we talked about, and we didn't really want Michael Duff to do it, but it worked brilliantly. And Matty Pearson is just, you look at him on the field and he just looks like a leader. He looks like someone you don't want to mess with. And he looks like someone you're not going to get past. He's been phenomenally good, and that was a great goal as well.
Yeah, yes, and a little bit like we said with Turton, and I know Duff mentioned it in his press conferences. We've got some players in this squad that won't play every week, might not start the season. There might be some still in the squad who kind of like look at themselves and need to work hard in training. But Pearson's revival is testament to the character, and that's what it's good to see. We've got characters in this team that won't get picked, but will kind of get their heads down and work hard. And Matty Pearson currently is thriving off the hard work that he's done. And I know Duff talks about that in his press conference. But I was worried for him because obviously it didn't seem to work in pre-season. He didn't look great. One of the games in abroad, I can't remember which one it was, but it was absolutely awful. His touch was shocking. He was missing everything. And then similar with the Warsaw game, he came into that game and he was kind of a bit all over the place. The ball came into him, he couldn't control it, he couldn't make a pass. So it didn't end well for him. So it was concerning. And obviously he's kind of got his chance through injuries. And when he kind of came into the team, I was kind of thinking this could be a real weakness, but testament to him, testament to his ability, which is clear does still have, like Cosy said, it's a drop down. And I think it kind of, a slight slower pace, slight more physicality to the football, just suit Pearson's game. But it's not just a drop in level. He's obviously up to his levels as well. And do you know what I mean? We've lost Mikel, but Matty's kind of stepped into that goal scoring as well, which is fantastic because he had a few seasons ago. Was it 3 seasons ago? He had a real good run of scoring. So he's obviously got
21. We're at 21, 22. They were on about him maybe get. I think he scored quite a lot earlier.
Again,
they were on about double figures. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't quite the quality of the goals with his feet weren't quite the quality of Saturday. There's one where he just half shins it in. I think I remember from a couple of from that season. But yeah, I'm really pleased for him because I mean, obviously, people talk quite a bit about him. He's a good character around. I mean, I know Matt Glennon absolutely loves him and talks a lot about him on radio leads. But he's that type of driving character that we need. Yeah, so is that type of driving character that we need, and I'm pleased that he's done well. But obviously, I'm pleased he's done well for the team because it was starting to be a little bit of a problem. You were starting to see some mistakes, even from Hildred before he got injured. Leeds had a couple of issues. So it's good to see someone who's kind of stepped up and kind of been that bit more of a force, that presence, which hopefully other players will feed off and be able to kind of up their levels around it. So yeah, fantastic to have him back to his fighting best, really.
Pearson, it looks like his team. Sorry, Cos, it looks like Pearson's team now. Maybe with Hogg not starting and Nichol's not there. When you're watching the guys come out on the field, it looks like it's Pearson's team. And now sometimes when certain guys are given captaincy, I know he's not that. He's not team captain. I understand that, but the leadership, he's in charge of that team when we're playing. You can tell he is. He's responding well to it. Some people get better with it. Some people deteriorate. Pearson looks so much more comfortable now. And like you say, I'm with you, Johnny. I thought for whatever reason, Duff didn't fancy him. Didn't want him in his team. I didn't think he wanted to turn in his team either, funnily enough, and he's found his way back in as well. But that's testament to Duff also, that you can tell that at the beginning of the season, he had this way, I want to play this way with these players. And now my issue was going into the season, if the system doesn't work, he's not going to change it because he's already picked his guys he wants to play with. And to be fair, I'm wrong on that at all, in that he's changing, like I say, the midfield dynamics, as Matt and I have gone over so many times the last few drive-ins. But he's changing the people that are in the team as well. And now if Hildred comes back this week, would he start over Pearson? Not for me. Not for me. I know he's playing that right centre-back now, Matt. I still think he's going to swap back into the central role at some point.
I'd have Pearson, yeah.
He's the first defender on the team sheet. We talk about Kasumu being the first midfielder in that midfield two, that holding two. If you're asking who the first centre-back is, for me, it's Matty Pearson. Again, when the ball falls in the box on the corner, there's one person you want on that, and it's not Marshall, it's not Radulovic, it is Matty Pearson. Because in those situations, he's clinical. We were good at set pieces at the weekend. It's nice to see, and Wiles is stepping up a little bit. I think he's a bit like Pearson as well, where he knows now week in and week out, he's getting that nod in the tough games. He's going to be starting over Evans. And I think that freedom allows you to be a little bit more creative, take a few more risks when it comes to taking corners. Like for Lees, Matt, when he nearly scored again for the 84th time, whatever it is this year, from a corner, it was a very, very deep corner by Wiles searching for Lees because nobody else is near him, but he trusts him to do it. Seeing Town having these little tiny developments in Pearson getting more comfortable and looking a little bit more free. For some reason, teams aren't trying to attack us the same way, Matt, that they were a few weeks ago, either. They're not trying to hit it over the wing-backs' heads anymore. I don't entirely know why the dynamics have changed in midfield, but it seems a little bit strange because Pearson and Lees would have been ones that you wouldn't have expected to be able to manage it. But for some reason, this Saturday we could. And I think it's belief. I think the players are now starting to buy into Duff ball and just get a little bit more out of it. And they just look more confident from the off. And that can only do us good things and until tomorrow night, maybe. Maybe it changes again there. But Duff spoke about something today in his press conference. And when we're talking about the defence, this is important to talk about in that we're playing against teams that now have a back three. So we've got Wrexham with a back three. Last week they had a back three. And obviously Bristol Rovers played a back three. And if you notice against Bristol Rovers, what actually happened was we had our front two strikers, Radulovic and Marshall, pressing on the centre-backs. But we were a bit lopsided and Mikel Miller actually played nearly as a third striker in the press. And it just meant we've got extra men up front. So our defenders got a little bit more time, a little bit more patience, and normally a bit of freedom. So we kind of had a free centre-back at certain times at the weekend, and that helped us as well. We looked much more solid, and I do put it down to the belief in the guys, but also Matty Pearson's rejuvenation, his rebirth, because he looks like the kind of player we had a couple of years ago, not what we saw in pre-season this year.
Cozzy, Callum Marshall is a player that we praise to high heaven, don't we, on this podcast. He's such a little wasp of a player, isn't he? He's a little pest, you know. I was searching for the right sort of animal to compare him to in the player ratings this week, and I was looking at ferrets and all sorts of stuff. He's just it must be a horrible little player to play against for a 19-year-old to put so much effort in, energy, and he gets involved and he takes his whack, gives them back. And we've been saying, I think Dave Hartrick's been saying as well for weeks, that he deserves a goal. You know, the work he's putting in, he's been phenomenally good. For me, again, since the Reading game, he's been really, really good. His link-up play is really good. Bojan's link-up play is good as well. And they're starting to dovetail together really well. And when Bojan drops now, Marshall can now go beyond the last man. And he did so this time. And it's a good goal. The second and third goals are both off the track for a while, being better with his feet or being superior with his feet to Nichols and Maxwell. And that's not a dig at Nichols and Maxwell. It's just Jacob Chapman's just genuinely very good with the ball at his feet. And that pass he fizzes out to Nigel Lonwijk's excellent. And then Nigel's run is phenomenally good, really. He comes inside, he nutmegs the defender with a pass, doesn't he? And Callum Marshall finishes really well from a position he was in a similar position to where he's had a shot a few minutes earlier, and the goalkeeper's made a really good save. But again, the officials may be a bit kind on this one because Marshall potentially looks offside when the ball's played here. I mean, the right centre-back has actually dropped quite deep, and I think if you kind of... But he's definitely beyond the centre-back that was marking him. But Cozzy, it's just great. A great bit of work from Nigel Lonwijk. Good run from Callum Marshall because the offside's not given, so you got to credit the run. And the finish is good as well. The keeper gets a touch to it. It's a good touch, not good enough. And that's a goal he's deserved for weeks. And Callum Marshall, we're hoping now, can really fly on. And when people sort of say, we need a striker, those voices, dissenting chants are lessening now with the performance that Callum Marshall's putting in.
I'm getting excited with Callum Marshall, and I'll probably get a lot of stick for this, but my favourite player in football for the last 10 years has been Antoine Griezmann. And the reason I like Antoine Griezmann is not because he scores all the goals, because he does.
Is it his hair?
His work ethic, mate. Well, yeah, jealous, but his work ethic is unbelievable, mate. There's no more hard work in world football than Antoine Griezmann, mate, and that's why he's all the success that he's had throughout his career. And you know what? Obviously, ridiculous to compare, but I see little bits of Callum Marshall and Griezmann is fantastic, mate. I love the way he's pressing. He just looks like a man with a massive point to prove now. Obviously, Corberan had his say, and well, he made his feelings clear by not picking him as well. So it's always interesting, I think, when you've got a young player like that. They could go one or two ways, couldn't they, with their attitude and stuff. But so when he came to Huddersfield, I was thinking, what kind of guy are we getting here? Because obviously he's dropping down a division. Is he a guy with a point to prove, or is he going to sit there and sulk and maybe sink down the divisions? And I'm loving him, Matt. I'm loving him what he's bringing to the team. I'm loving his work ethic. His pressing, his goal, fantastic. Okay, probably was offside, but you wrote all that against him as well. And his interview as well, mate, after the game, he's great just guy, isn't he? He does. He just seems like a guy with a great energy. And Michael, and I think he said they had to drag him off the training ground last week, and they always have to drag him off the training ground. So to me, this is a guy. And again, let's not. These is little things in football, but this guy, obviously, he was in the Midlands last year, London boy. These things sometimes can go against us, I think, as a northern team when you get some of these, kind of Premier League loans up the north. But man, he looks so settled and happy, and he looks like a guy now who could. I'm not saying we don't need a striker like in January, because we probably do, but he's certainly made people, think about his finish. How he took it was absolute lightning, wasn't it? It would have class goal, mate, better than League One. The quality. I mean, Lonwijk as well. He just fantastic. When last time you see the town centre back do all this? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. There's times where I'm thinking, could you play him in another position rather than, I don't know, then if you get Alec back, but it'd be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, for all sometimes Lonwijk, some of his issues we've seen at the back, I think he's just kind of, maturity maybe, but just obviously a young guy finding his way. in the game. He gives you so much going forward. But the goal were quality, mate, and it just looked like if you'd have walked in there, you'd think, wow, this Huddersfield team that are so much better than Bristol. They've got a bit more about them. But yeah, loving Cam match. You watch him now, mate, at Wrexham tomorrow. They'll go down after 10 minutes and the physio will be going like that. And then, but I just don't want to jinx him. But yeah, great signs, because my expectation level were pretty low, being honest, when he came. Just obviously not much track record. He was almost like a bonus if you did well. I was thinking, I don't think you can rely on this guy, and you're looking to other more senior strikers. But now I'm thinking, I'm not saying one of the first names on the sheet, but he's a guy that excites me. The guy's got a great work ethic. We've seen it on the pitch. We hear about it off the pitch. And yeah, he could have a massive season for us with Callum Marshall. So it looks like a bit of a coup, really, where if you hear any West Brom fans didn't see him enough to judge, but obviously Corbyn made a judgment and said adios. But it could be Huddersfield's game, that, mate.
Absolutely. He's doing phenomenally well. And his finishing, John, is very similar to what we saw the videos in the West Ham youth team. And he's managed to bring that up. And for me, the thing that impresses me most is just the speed of his decision making is a level above league layoffs, etc. And the runs he makes are just that second ahead of your average sort of League One player. And I think with the experience he gets here, he will be able to go and do higher. He's a player I've really liked to watch, and I don't want to big him up too much because there will be lulls and there will be moments or periods where he does tail off a little bit, and that's when you'll need someone else to come in. But as it stands at the minute, he's our number one striker.
Yeah, he is. I can't, probably a lot sooner than more recent. I remember, I can't remember Striker making a run like that and hit the first time shot across goal. It's not something. It's not football that we've seen. Even in that goal where you've got the midfielders driving forward, the dynamism of the team and the options that they've got creating. I mean, defenders don't know where to go. But it's just so nice to see Town look to do that. But we've not had a striker like do that.
Naki Wells or something, isn't it? Who used to do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen a goal like that scored by Huddersfield, or even something more than there was one like that a few weeks ago. Okay, but it's that kind of the point is it's new and it's refreshing. But yeah, I really like him. I love how industrious he is as well. Like I know Duff says sometimes he does a little bit too much, but I was watching the Northern Ireland game midweek and he's flying into tackles, and I'm watching it from a Town perspective, thinking like just calm down because we, like Claudia said, we need you. Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. But yeah, he's just flying in. He's kind of like winning balls, big 50-50 challenges, and this is a guy who's been bad as a striker, but it's all round. It's all round game. And like West Brom kind of said, he was a little bit too lightweight, and obviously we never saw him. But either he was, and Corbyn recognised that, and he's gone away and put the hard work in. I mean, back end of last season over summer to kind of lose that from his game, but he wasn't getting bullied. I've not seen him get bullied. He's been strong. He's physical. He matched up against some really big centre-backs he's played against, and he's had a few whacks and you get some carries on, but he's not scared of a 50-50 challenges. He's got everything, and I think it's down to the main thing as well is also his attitude. I think that's why he's got the ability, showing signs of ability to go the way. But I think modern day now, it's someone who's going to put the hard yards and put extra time in. It isn't seen as often. Certainly, like say, his Premier League loans, and we've had some car crash loans over the last couple of years. Appreciate they were a little bit older than Marshall and Taylor and Dalman looking to go up. But yeah, I think we've got our hands on a player who's good off the field, good on the field, and if we can help him develop, then fantastic. But yeah, he's an exciting player, and he's a player you're looking at team sheet now thinking, well, he could do something. He could be a difference maker. He's got the ability to do it, and yeah, I think pleasantly surprised, and hopefully continue to be pleasant surprised as we go through the season with him.
I mean, the last striker we got from West Ham on loan didn't work out particularly well, did it? So this one is doing so. Long way to continue. Right, so second half. But we continued in the same vein, really, and the goal was just another from the training field. It comes from a throw-in, doesn't it? That pass from Nige is absolutely disgusting, isn't it? It's filthy. It's almost like a golf shot, isn't it? How he just arcs his foot and just clips it with the outside of his right foot, and it just spins perfectly for it. It gives me sort of Aaron Moy PTSD. Does that watching that kind of pass from a player? It really is a fabulous little pass, and I think that angle that Town recorded from behind the goal, in particular, it looks even more impressive from there. So again, great camera work from Town's media team, and Miller's had a great game again, hasn't he? He's done really well, and I think the only sort of negative we ever say about Miller, and I think again it's not so much a negative, it's more of an observation, is that his final product isn't always as good as what you would hope. And obviously our expectations and our bars are really high. But Miller, it was good today, created, several chances in, and he got down that flank again and he put the ball across, and Bojan puts the ball in the net, and what a response from him. Sheer relief, wasn't he? He was crying, he was crawling, he's absolutely emotional as it came through. A little bit more emotional than he was when the ball span in front of him after Marshall shot in the first half, where he kind of that was a really strange moment for him when he
would have that though, Matt. I laughed at it.
It spanned, didn't it? Yeah,
it would have, mate. It would have had a chance that I laughed at it, and I was told by a few people around me you shouldn't be laughing because it would hard. And I looked at replay, I thought, "Eat what?"
Yeah,
so
the way it spun just in front of him, didn't it? And he went quite quick, actually. From my angle, it looked like what's going on there, and then he's a little bit different. So, but it spun. But that goal was fantastic for him. A real killer. I think both of us wanted a Bojan goal, didn't we, in this game? And for him to score, it was great. And to be fair, he even puts it in the side netting, doesn't he? Side of the net, with even it might be a couple of yards out, but he makes sure. And it compounded another decent showing. He's winning more duels this week. He won more duels than he did against Barnsley, which is good. I don't think he's at 100% yet. I think he's still working his way there. But a lot of what he does is clever. He drops into spaces better than I think the majority of strikers that we've had for years. Off into really clever places and linking. Where he maybe falls down a little bit is the physical side, but he's getting better at that already. He's improving and he's wanting to improve, which is obvious as well. I thought it was another good performance, and I was delighted for him when he scored, because you want everyone to succeed, don't you, in a Huddersfield Town shirt? You don't want anyone to fail. And he's been getting some stick in certain quarters, so it was just nice for him to score that goal and let the outpouring of relief and celebrate. And it was a nice moment, Killer. It was just nice to get that, and I hope he goes on now and gets sort of 10, 15, 20 or whatever. But that's the challenge to him now, isn't it? You've got your goal now, you've got to kick on, and you've got to get to 100%, and you've got to score more goals. I mean, he's not cracked it. That's his second goal for us in 10 months. Let's have some more, because he's very capable of it. But he facilitates things brilliantly as well, doesn't he, in certain areas? And the Marshall and Bojan partnerships work really well as it stands. And there's a lot of potential in that as well, Killer.
I like it. And he should have had a second goal after if Marshall hadn't smashed it himself instead of Radulovic on the right-hand side. He could just played him in. Could have just played him in for an easy goal. And to be fair to Marshall, that's inexperience. Maybe a bit of greed once you're 3-0 up at that point and you're kind of, you're seeing goals and you're chasing it yourself. But he should have played him in, and Radulovic should have had two. I thought Radulovic, he's turning into that bit all round 9, the guy that's just going to score you the goals. To be honest, I do think a lot of it's because of Marshall. I think if Marshall plays as selfishly as Bojan does and most other 9s, Marshall scores 20 goals a season in League One. But as a team, we're worse. He does the unselfish running all game into the wrong angles where he shouldn't be going. And if you were an individual coach on Marshall, you'd be told, don't do that. Don't do that, Cal. Don't go down there, mate. You're not going to score enough goals. But by him doing that, he's making Bojan Radulovic, who, let's be honest, up until now, Radulovic hasn't looked even serviceable as a League One striker for me. You've put him in there with Marshall, and he's getting into the right pockets. He's creating chances, scoring goals now. I do think it's important to caveat all this on how bad Bristol Rovers were. I thought defensively they were shocking. The second goal and the third goal were very similar in what happened, in that it was a quick ball out wide, a flat runner for the third goal. Scott Sinclair doesn't follow Miller. He's got a 5-yard head start on him. Miller sets off past him, and Sinclair just watches him past and then sets off after him. Technically, you can say, well, he did chase him back. He didn't. He were half-assed, and we were in because of it. The Marshall goal, it's okay saying it's a great finish. It's a fantastic finish, and it could have been offside, Matt. But there's no way the defender should let him breeze past for an easy shot back across the goal into the goal. If Town defended the way Bristol Rovers do for the second and third goal, we're all sat here saying that defence inexcusable. We shouldn't be defending like that. The good finishers, Radulovic especially, because the keeper was quite close to him by the end, wasn't he, Matt? He was creeping in on him, but a nice little finish there. It's great that our strikers are now scoring and creating problems and creating more chances. It's really, really good. We'll have tougher tests than the Bristol Rovers defence, but still, Matt, I want to see that Lonvite pass all day long. I could watch it day after day after day, because it is Moyesque, isn't it? Yeah. It's just the way he plays, but again, it was quite telegraphed in what he was going to do, and the Bristol Rovers defence just couldn't be arsed chasing back for it. That's not taking anything off it for Town. great goals, great win. But again, the caveat is Rovers' defence. To me, if they don't sack Taylor this week after that performance, I'd be very surprised because they were awful. One, I know they've got a quick turnaround. I'm guessing they're playing tomorrow as well, and maybe that's giving him an extra chance. But to me, seeing the way Bristol Rovers played in that first 60 minutes, they've checked out from the system that they're playing under because defensively they didn't put much in.
No, I thought their defense was pretty bad.
I think they've got a mass because Taylor.
Stevenage took a good win, didn't they? They beat Mansfield, so
yeah,
be interesting. Then be interesting.
Yeah, look, because I saw an interview with Taylor after, and he looked a man because obviously they were chanting for his head, and it were getting louder and louder as the game went on. But yeah, he was just saying that they just didn't kind of work hard enough, and when you kind of
they did though, did they? Because it looked the same to you guys.
They've got
It just didn't look like they tracked back. They weren't tracking the runners, and we took full advantage of that. And fair play again to Duff and Town that they noticed what they couldn't do, and we targeted it, and it worked twice, and it should have worked a third time when Marshall could have played with Dulevikin, and that's a fantastic sign for us going forward. But Bristol Rovers, they need some help because if they play like that, they're only going one way in this division, and it's not up.
I've got to owe you an apology because I thought the keeper were poor. Maybe we speak, but everywhere I've looked, he got like 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. So he did do well.
He's a good keeper. He's a good keeper. He's Griffiths. Yeah, he's England under 21 keeper. He probably shouldn't be at Bristol Rovers. He's fairly decent.
Their support were ace, mate. They were in the town centre before in a boy and battle, and they took it over. They were singing the songs. They had their flags outside. They were brilliant. There were good numbers in there as well. For that as well, they were absolute dross, weren't they? Like secular. Honestly, I've always had respect for their team because obviously they're still playing that memorial grounds. I don't think it helps them and that as well, kind of rugby field and that as well. But I always not on Saturday, but I'm always wanting Bristol Rovers to do kind of well, really. Probably our favourite team out of the two in Bristol, but they did look, Jack Hunt, he got a lot of stick as well, didn't he? But he's just they looked a team in a lot of trouble, didn't they? And like secular, I expect to see. Every club, if you go to Rangers yesterday, you always see fans just putting a picture of a corner flag out there, their team, if they want to manage out. That seems to be the modern day get him out. And I just saw loads of admin, Bristol Rovers are just a corner flag. We want to see this tomorrow. But yeah, I think if they get beat them on a night killer, I think you will see that corner flag Wednesday morning on the.
Honestly, Cozzy, you calling them your favourite team in Bristol's made my week. That's actually the favourite thing I've heard all week. Oh, I love Bristol Rovers. Outside town, they are my favourite team in Bristol.
I like that Good Night Irene. Good song, mate. It's one of the better anthems, that, mate.
So, yeah, it's a decent club. I like Bristol Rovers as well.
But if they're the better, Matt, would you have liked them in 95? Is it because of that?
I did like that team in 95. I liked Gareth Taylor and Marcus Stewart, and there were quite a lot there to like. The kit as well. I quite like the green and black kits and stuff. They look quite good, but I thought their fans were decent as well when we beat them. Stuff like that counts to me. How you lose rather than how you win is always a telling sign of a decent fan base, and I've always quite liked Bristol Rovers as well.
Yeah, I saw a few people. I know people are not big Bojan fans, and I can once talk because I thought his interview was just advised, to be honest, on Thursday in the presser. But what I would say is, just because he did so, there's people who look, he only scored a tap in, and it was a good finish and a good goal. It looked sharp, and he's been through the mill, mate. So just because he's still on his knees and the kind of, how should he be celebrating like that? The celebration police were out. I get if you've got an issue with Bojan, but don't knock that, mate. The guy's
let him have a moment.
Exactly, mate. Let him have his
moment. And let someone wear a Huddersfield Town shirt and give a shit for once. You know what I mean? I can't.
Yeah.
Fucking weird. So there you go. But anyway, got a bit complacent again. It's something that slips into our makeup and has every home game, I think, so far. Maybe not Barnsley, actually, because we didn't get a chance to be complacent in that game. But after sort of 65-ish, the levels dropped off a bit. I know Bristol Rovers made a load of changes, didn't they? And made some subs and changed the system. But I think Michael Duff mentioned it in the post-match as well. He says sometimes the players are finding themselves in unusual positions, and we've seen over the last 7 years, haven't we, that 3-0 up at home is an unusual position. We've not had that a lot. So he's probably right in that we're 3-0 up. What do we do now? Do we keep pressuring? Do we just tail up? Do we just sort of retreat a bit and save ourselves for Tuesday? And there was to be honest, against Stevenage and Shrewsbury, that sort of like step off and level drop lasted for 45 minutes. For Northampton, it was almost 80, wasn't it? But it only went on for 10 minutes this time. So they are getting better. They are stamping the bad habits out, which is great to see. Michael Duff's definitely working well with things like that. But there were a couple of little issues. There was a penalty shout for them. Taylor, the manager, thought it was. My point of view, I mean, Jacob Chapman drops the ball. He takes his eye off it a little bit. But I thought he recovered and pushed it out, in fairness. Pushed the ball out. I don't think it's a penalty. I think if Marshall's isn't a penalty, that one's not a penalty. I don't even think they got a corner for it, because I think he pushed it off the attacker. And then they scored, didn't they? I mean, again, it's complacency. Nigel Lonvike, I think Michael Duff's mentioned a few times that Nigel can be a bit lackadaisical in possession, and he got caught a little bit. I mean, he's set 2 goals up, so we're not going to hand him out to dry or anything. And then they've got in, and not sure who's marked, but should it really be Turton's man? Who knows? And then Chapman maybe gets a hand to it, and maybe should push it wide. Maybe I don't know. Potentially. But I mean, 3-1. I thought
I blame Michael Duff a bit for that. They brought their subs on, and they had naught to lose, so just threw the dice and brought the energy on. But I thought we should have countered that straight away and brought the energy on as well, instead of just letting players decide whether they're going to, kind of just wind down a little bit for Tuesday. I thought it was a bit poor from him, mate. And then we did bring a subs on eventually, but just after we had that rocky period, it could have been 3-2. But I just thought it was a bit slow in getting him on, mate. Well, to be fair, it's been good with his changes, but I'd be a bit critical of him.
There's an argument as well that the players have got to be in that situation to learn from it and deal with it as well. So it works both ways. But I thought with the game on Tuesday, I mean, you don't want to class the game as won. You can, as a Huddersfield fan, the game's never won, is it, until the whistle's gone. But I maybe would have made a few subs a little bit earlier. And Turton went off, didn't he? With which I think is just essentially just fitness, isn't it? Minutes. He's not had a lot of minutes. Danny Ward came on. Evans came on. He's probably a little bit disappointed to want to get 11, 12 minutes against his old team. And the sniffer came on as well as Hoggy. So he's made 5 subs. He's used them all. They're not for extended periods, but they've all come on. And I thought it did all right. It broke the game up quite well. And after Miller had his little moment, I thought we recovered the run of the ball quite well.
That shows the strength of us, that Evans. And I thought he was going to get the sympathy vote and get that start on Saturday in the end. And it's a big thing that I think he'll have been really pissed off when he saw the team sheet. And I'm liking Duff for doing this. But again, I just couldn't stop thinking over the weekend that we should be expecting to push for that second spot, mate. You've got guys there that, like you said to us, Matt, on the internal communications channel, Evans, like, the Bristol Rovers fans must be thinking, Jesus Christ, this guy can only get 12 minutes against us. And they've kind of
the year last year, wasn't
they've lost 5. We were 10th in the league, so obviously we must have something about them. But to me, and the all injuries that we have, and we can still trot out a bench like we do. I think I don't know, discussion coming in a bit, but it's like expectation level and expecting. I find it hard to kind of. We say kind of fans expect, but when you've seen stuff like that, I think we should though, mate. Really, and I'm sure Nagle must think that because. The investment's been there. You could argue with the quality of it, but come on, these guys. I mean, I hope Penn didn't even get on a bloody bench on Saturday, mate. And we were thinking, does he even start? Well, a couple of us before, he's nowhere near. So, mate, it's strong as our squad. It is.
The thing is, Cosy, squads go well.
That's just the league, isn't it? I think where you seem to have you've got that top 8, 9. And then there is that cliff edge between the bottom. I know we've succumbed to a few teams in that kind of bottom sector, but you have got, if you compare us to that top 6, top 7, there's still depth there, but the talent is a little bit more equal. But when you go below that, you've got the Bristols, the Stevenages, Northamptons. It is a bit of a chasm between the two.
It's a good squad, though. We've got a good squad, and a good squad does well over the course of a season. But if I asked you, looking at the Birmingham squad, what individual from our team would get in their starting 11? And we don't have a superstar. We don't have a standout player. Because if you would have to... All right, and here's a question to you three. If you had to pick out one standout player from town, probably the best we have as an individual, who would it be? Because for me, I'd be Ben Wiles. That's what I'd be. I think he's got something special about him that nobody else can offer. I know we're probably going to argue Marshall. But other than him and Marshall second, I don't think we've got those standout players that you'd kind of associate with challenging with the top 2. Normally, to do that, you kind of have to have a second player. Barnsley have got Keeler Dunn. I know he wasn't great with us, but again, on paper, you're like, oh yeah, fair enough. We don't seem to have that. And I think over the course of the season, it'll help because, like you say, when we've got a couple of injuries. There's so many other people that can come in and it not be a massive drop off. But in those games where we're struggling a little bit, I still don't think we've got those impact substitutions that we can make to change the direction or outcome of a game. And I think that's the weakness. The squad itself is really deep and good. 8 out of 10 good probably for this division. But those 9 and 10 out of 10 players that you can just turn it on when you need it, I think that's what we miss.
Do you know what? I might disagree slightly with that. I think when teams usually have a standout player, it's because half of the team's gash, if you know what I mean. So the level of the standout player seems higher, if you like. I do think we do have potential game changers. I mean, Anthony Evans, in theory, should be able to do it. Josh Koroma, when he comes back from injury, should be one of those players, or could be one of those players. Depends who starts up front. And then if Josh Koroma starts up front, then you've got Marshall or Radulovic who's not starting. Freddie Ladapo is what he is. He's going to be there. If you want him to do anything outside it, it's not really his strong suit. But I think there are options there. But I think Town's problem over the last few years, because we were thinking about this before, weren't we, Killer, where you don't have that number 10 who takes this everything, the game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, you've got players who contribute to, Herbie Kane can dominate a midfield. Anthony Evans, Ben Wiles can do the bits in there as well. But I think in the past few years, Town's strongest players have all been defenders, and I don't think anyone ever looks at a centre back and goes, he's the strong guy that's he's going to win us a game. Mikael Hellick's going to win us a game, because defenders generally don't, do they? But I think Town's, maybe it's due to the lack of post Premier League investment or expected investment, that it's defenders who've really been the ones who stand out. And so, to point Sorba Thomas as well with his delivery, but I think a lot of it's because we've been a defensive team, in all honesty, and you've got your Pearsons, your Lees, your Hellicks, etc. have all been your top players. And Lee Nichols as well. Lee Nichols has gone from being on the fringes of an England call-up almost to playing in League One. It's the way it is. But I think we do have changes. But I wouldn't be comfortable either, Killer, saying, "Oh, you could throw him on in any moment and he'll turn the game." I wouldn't. I don't think we've got anyone like that. But I do think because we've got quite a strong squad, I don't think anyone quite stands out head and shoulders above anyone else. And I think if we had someone that do that, there'd be sort of a really good championship player. But we could always get better, can't we? We can always get better. But I think we need to move on. We're getting to 52 mins. Lots to pick though, boys. But who would you go for man of the match in this game? Bojan took it, didn't he, on the online vote? But I mean, there were only 150 votes on the online one anyway. Few people were upset that Bojan got man of the match. I don't think it's that deep, but for me, I go Callum Marshall. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I got Callum Marshall.
Cosmo?
Yep, CM, mate. CM is the man.
And Killer's nodding as well.
That's to be.
I mean, Ben Wiles got a lot of praise as well, Killer, by Michael Duff for a lot of things he does off the ball and the movement off the ball. And I thought what was really good about Ben Wiles was there's a number of occasions where he motored back into the 6 area, the defensive midfield position, and his ball recoveries at doing so to stop a couple of counterattacks was excellent. Ben Wiles was at it on Saturday, and he's obviously got to fend off Anthony Evans from that position now, so he's fighting for his place. So there's some good performances there, but we don't. So unfortunately, this week we don't have anyone from Bristol Rovers to give us their take. Like I said, I did ask Ollie from Gascast, but he took the better option and went out on the lash instead and didn't watch the game. So that's completely fair enough from Ollie. So, but what I do have is that I did an interview with Beth Stanfield, the Huddersfield Town women's captain, who we sponsor on the podcast, and she did this interview with me about how their season's going so far. Okay, thanks to Beth. So if you want to watch Huddersfield Town women, they've got a home game against York on the 27th of October and an FA Cup tie as well at home on the 3rd of November. So get along to watch them if you can. And there's still a few girls that need sponsoring down there as well. If anyone's ever thought about doing that, now's your time. There's a few still available to sponsor. Right, so Kevin Nagle's back over. So the rumours are that it's to sort the stadium changes and everything. Killer, there was an ATT meeting on Saturday morning. Mr. Nagle wasn't there, I believe. I think Dave Threlfall-Sykes was the representative from the club. Anything particularly come out of that you're allowed to say at this moment in time?
I will wait until we have the minutes approved by the appropriate people, but nothing was said that was anything other than what everybody understands at the moment. Nothing was new. Nothing stood out.
Because there was that newspaper article, wasn't there, sort of suggesting that it was imminent. This stadium is due to be handed over imminently, but from little bits I've got, maybe that the gun was jumped slightly on that, but it's still going on. So we've seen the changes around the stadium and what Kevin Nagle's wanted to do. We've got Stereophonics coming, haven't we, next year? Lead singer's a Chesty, so that's a good choice. But I think it'll get good local support. It's a good band, Stereophonics, and there's a few murmurs about a couple of others as well. So hopefully they make bigger profits than the Muse concert, which I think was in the news that got 65 grand as a profit, which is quite disappointing, especially when the tickets was like over 100 quid for quite a few areas. So that's quite surprising. But yeah, so more concerts at the stadium, which is good, but obviously it needs support of people buying tickets to make those work. So hopefully that's going to be a success. One thing we talk about, but we had this chat in our little WhatsApp group, didn't we, where we sit there and we talk about Huddersfield Town all day because we're a bunch of losers. But Kevin Nagle was on social media and he replied to, I think it was a pensioner was asking basically why were there no longer any pensioner season card prices, and the response was a fair one. It was they're cheap tickets already; they've already been discounted, but we'll look into it. Kind of answer, which I thought was fair enough. And he mentioned as well one of his priorities is trying to get the 4,000 season ticket holders who aren't turning up to turn up, and I thought that was quite an interesting little thing he threw in there as well, because this season and Town fans can be quite quiet, as quite expectant. Sometimes they can wait for things to happen on the pitch before they liven up, is what I'm trying to say. We can include ourselves in that, I guess. The atmosphere is a bit odd at the moment, isn't it, Cozzy? Because I think we had this chat, didn't we? I think Killer made a really good point in the WhatsApp group we'll come to. But it is kind of it feels like there's a lot of people not turning up. I know Pozza, let's out him, the shithouse. Pozza didn't turn up, did he, on Saturday? Absolute disgrace. He's supposed to be the man who leads the atmosphere and leads the Cowshed Loyal. Where was he? I hope he listens to that. But there are a lot staying away, and the results aren't bad. Usually when the results are bad, people stay away, don't they? But the results are apart from that little run, but they've turned again recently. And the atmosphere is a bit strange. It's quite waiting to be entertained rather than trying to lift the players. It feels a bit strange when you turn up, doesn't it, Cos?
Matt, it's an interesting one, mate. I know loads of people with different opinions, and I'll put mine. I know I'm going to get a lot of stick this, right? So I've had Rhino season ticket cap for like over 20 years, right? I don't
Just
know,
wanker.
Shouting abuse. But what they're doing, Matt, is this year, because they're having games on a Saturday now, rugby, so that's home games that I'm missing. I work on a Sunday, so I can't go to any of that. All of a sudden, I'm missing like 5 home games. They have 13 home games a year. And then, so the first time ever, I've looked at it and thought, it's just not financially point me getting one. And I think so what they've done is kind of like a take 5 or a take 3. I think they're trying to appeal to like the students there. So in other words, you buy a discounted 5-game season card and you just load 5 games on them. I think it's about £110. And I think I'm going to probably go there because I probably only see about 6 home games out of 13. And it's the first time I've looked at it from a financial point of view. And I could just buy one as normal, but I'm just thinking, what's the point of tossing away 5-6 home games there and that as well? And I know a lot of lads, and this, you come back to what you've said many times, Matt. I honestly don't think it's anything to do with the division. I don't think it's anything to do with the football, because obviously we sold the season cards that we say more than last season and that as well. But I just think it's not. And I don't even know if maybe it is a little to do with opposition. For example, Exeter on Saturday, it's not one of those must-go-to games. And I've seen this on Saturday. Honestly, I've seen people make decisions. It's unbelievable. If it's arsing it down, mate, in town, you will get people who say, go to the the Vulcan or that brilliant new bar go, that's so what's been. But if they're enjoying the beers and they know that they've got a chance of watching it on the stream, they'll be like, I'm not going down. They'll make that decision, mate, at 2:45. And you're getting a lot of people like that. And then you're getting a lot of people that are, I think you'll get that. Maybe we'll get in the Premier League because it'll be like a must-watch his games. But it's like, I'm a fan of sort of like I go on all these trips and, you're looking at stuff and you think Exeter at home and then someone might, slide to Scarborough or something daft and you're thinking, that'll take you away now where before it wouldn't do. And I think,
do you think it's cheap enough? Do you think it's cheap enough just to skip some games?
Well, this is the thing. And it's like, so let's say the price has got bumped up to $350, Matt, which is, we all thought it might go that way anyway. Loads of people won't buy, and I think it'd be even more empty, but I don't think it would make me, because it's a really awkward one then, Matt, because then you've got, say you don't get one, like you'll pay on the day, then it'll get to a stage where it's like, I know it's £18 behind the goal, so say it was 25 everywhere, and then it were like, you didn't get a season card, and then say Exeter come into town and it was a crap forecast on Saturday, and I'm not sure you would go. You know what I'm trying to say? There's a lot of mitigated circumstances, and I suppose if I'm in Kevin Nagle's position, how do I get those people in? And I honestly, even if we were winning, Matt, I don't know if that would, even if we were third or second, I honestly don't think it would get them people back in, because I know people who are just, they're not. It's almost like, what's the social calendar like? But yeah, we'll have a few. Our lass is coming into town on Saturday with X. We'll have a few drinks, so I'll go to the game and I'll meet her after. But if like you're getting a lot of people now who are just like, they're doing stuff and they're not looking at the fixture list, so it's like they're thinking, oh God, it's like, I don't know, Bolton at home, I want to go to that. I don't think people look on stuff like that anymore now for the town. I just think it's like, what is the situation of the day? Is there, I don't know, is it junior football or whatever? Or I just think that's the kind of the sign of the times, really, where if you look, obviously we talked about the Man United game, maybe it's a really bad example, actually. We never thought we'd play them again, etc. But you always wanted to be there. They're one of those things where if you want going in season card, you could advertise it, couldn't you? The club wanted you to sell it back, didn't they, and that as well, which is what they're doing, obviously, at Madrid and Barcelona and that. But obviously we don't do it now. So it's a real tough one. And I've kind of gone around the houses, but I know so many people, it's
said a lot without saying anything, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like, but in other words, if it was my problem, like, you work for the club, sort it out, get them 4,000 back in, I honestly would not have the answer, mate. I really wouldn't. And
do you think entice people to be closer, and therefore they're not in the town centre? And if you're closer to the stadium, would that make a difference? For the people you're talking about, rather than being sat in the Vulcan, for example, not to throw a Vulcan under the bus or anything. But if you sat in the Vulcan, you're enjoying your pint, it's raining outside, and you think, oh, bloody hell, it's 20 minutes walk down there. I could just sit here and watch it on my phone or whatever. Whereas if you're in the supporters bar next door, it's just a little skip through and in. Is it because things are too far away? Well, they're not that far, but is it a sort of laziness?
People have got their match day traditions, Matt, in any country, mate, and I think that's going to be hard to change. I know we've talked about fan zones, and Kevin Nagle's obviously talked about supporters bar, and who knows what will come, but I just think it's, honestly, because it made me laugh. Duff said, oh, they played in front of 20,000 like today. I thought, sure, Michael, there's no way 20,000's in there, is it? In the ground. But it's a fascinating one, Matt. And I think, obviously, we expect the prices to go up next year. So I think even less will buy the season card. Probably even if we go up, which we all hope we do, and that as well. I think it's a big problem. But then I look at some of the highlights, Matt, and I tell you what, someone made a good point. Them 12-30 games, this is a big issue to me. It showed, I think we were in the 12-20, and it flashed through all the grounds where they were showing the 12-30 games on Sky. Mate, we're dead. Everywhere you look, Preston were playing. There were no one there. Wickham were playing. There were no one there. Accrington were playing. There were no one there. It's just like that. I think all this is kind of people are looking at it and are thinking, look, Sky are going to like have 4 games a season on at 12:30. We've seen games move to Sunday, like at Hull and Sunderland. I think that's got a lot to do with it. People are just like, we don't know when we're going to be able to go or where we go. So they're organising the social bit around the football rather than organising football around the social bit. But so I think things are changing.
It is now, don't you, for the changes. So I don't really buy into that.
No, but if you're buying a season card, Matt, what I'm saying to you is like, if you've got to make that decision now, that's what I'm saying with my Rhinos dilemma. If I know 2 games are going to be pulled for Saturday and I'm not going to be able to go, or midweek or whatever, before it's going to make me make a different decision now. And I think people are thinking that with these 12-30s. I think it'll show the next few years. I think owners and clubs have got a big issue here. But even Leeds, as we saw, they've still got general sale tomorrow, which they won't, no one will have you believe, will they? But they are. There's Leeds and Watford tickets on sale tomorrow. Not that anyone's going to be
sold out 10 years ago. It's impossible to get a ticket.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I think it's outside the Premier League, mate. There's big issues, I think, with this new deal and other stuff. But I really don't know how you get your 4,000 back in with, free food. We've seen that thing an hour before. I don't know if they've stopped that now, where beers half price until an hour before the kick-off.
The happy hour stuff. No,
I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has got any ideas. I've said a lot without saying a lot as usual. But
go on, Killer. Yeah. You were making a point. What you in? What's that?
Oh, football's failing because fans like you, Cozzy. It's your fault, mate. You're just apathetic to it. It's awful. It's awful to see it. You'll go abroad. You'll pay to go and see whoever you go see in Portugal and then Germany and then back to Spain to see. You'll pay for that, but leave Vulcan. Don't do that.
Don't my fault, Killer. Huddersfield next. Don't work for me anymore, mate.
I think we've had it too good for too long. I think Town fans have had it so good. We've been to the Premier League. We've like Icarus. We flew too close to the sun. And now we've crashed, and people don't particularly get turned on by it the same. We have this feeling, Town fans, going into these games, in my opinion, where we shouldn't be playing these teams in the first place because we're bigger than these clubs, we're bigger than Wrexham, we're bigger than... So when we win, the expectation is we'll win because we're a big team in this division. We were in the Championship last year, we were in the playoff final a couple of years before that to get back into the Premier League, and now we're in League One, playing Stevenage at home, playing Bristol Rovers at home, and we should be beating those teams. So when we beat those teams, all you get is, we should be beating those teams. And then when you lose one against Northampton, it's, I can't believe we're losing to Northampton. When you lose to, who did we lose after? Who were after Northampton? Who did we lose to that time?
Reading,
Blackpool.
Right?
Blackpool and Reading. Same thing. I can't believe we're losing. Reading, they've only got 21-year-olds playing and they don't even have an owner with die or whatever it is with Young and it all falling apart behind the scenes.
Best home record in the Football League this year, apparently. Reading, I read earlier.
But no one cares because Huddersfield Town and we're too big for this division in a lot of people's opinions. And we're not. The reckoning is we're here because we've been awful for the last few years. We deserve to be here. Our budget's not massive for this division. We've not gone and outspent on individuals. Bristol Rovers, as we spoke about in the driving, I'd promise Omasheru, whatever is playing up top, who cost more for them than any of our players did individually. Every team in this division is spending quite similarly to us when it comes to player transfers. Okay, our budget's a little bit higher when it comes to wages because we still have legacy contract from players that were contracted in the Championship. So Nagle's probably covering that, no doubt. But we're not big spenders. We're here because we deserve to be here. But that's in clash when you're considering how fans approach these games. Cozzy's not getting turned on by Exeter because it's Exeter. But if this was a few years ago when we got promoted from Division 3 after we nearly went out of existence and we got into League 1 with Peter Jackson, and people were quite motivated then to go, we're playing crap then. We're playing awful teams. But it didn't matter because the team was on the up. The club was on the up. And at the moment, whilst they're trying to tell us that it's all been rebuilt behind the scenes, okay, the stadium has never looked better. Absolutely. On the field, it has. It's looked a lot better. Not often has it actually looked worse than where we are now compared to the last 20, 25 years, what most of us can kind of remember supporting Town. The problem is fans are apathetic to it because it's not a luxurious division compared to where we've been for so long. And this realisation takes a while to kind of settle. Or it has to be really good on the pitch. I honestly believe if we were top now or second now, and attendances would be improving, but we're not. Even after the win this weekend, we're still only 6th, and we're lucky to be 6th because kind of the teams in this division between 4th and 18th are very, very close as well. Another year would be quite a fair way back in 10th, maybe 12th even. We've lost too many games. We're not flying in the league, and at the moment, we're so far away from the part of the season where it really matters, the end of the season. The people just aren't motivated. It'll change, I think. And as the end of the season comes closer, people get motivated again. But at the moment, it's tough going because people are reassessing what they expected. All the predictions this year for Town from most people were 2nd, maybe 3rd, maybe 4th. And we're not there yet. And up until winning on Saturday, we were a long way away from it. This realisation, this existential crisis, I guess, Town fans are having, are just hard to take. And you can see it on Twitter. If we win, no one really cares. We've won. Bojan Radulevic's got man of the match and people are still kicking off about that. It's just not a very nice atmosphere at the moment. But if we win 3 more games in a row, the atmosphere will change very quickly then. And then those 4,000 will be back in there watching the games. But at the moment, it's just rebuilding. It's not being rebuilt, it's rebuilding. And it'll take a while. So Cozzy, stop talking negatively. Stop being the problem. Be the change in the world you want to see. Right? You get down there. Pozza, you need to get down there as well. Come on, you lead everyone, you orchestrate. Every time Town score any important goal, you're there with your lads celebrating at the front on all the cameras. You need to be there. I need to stop going and coaching football and be there. We all need to be there, and maybe that'll help everybody lift a little bit. But we just need to win it.
On Saturday, £4.80 for a bird meat and 30. Come on.
Cause I'll meet you in the Crown before the game against it. We'll have a right good sing-song before we walk down at 3 o'clock.
No, you're doing it now, Killer. You need to be in the fan zone, spending your money there. That's, you're doing it as well now.
Just quickly before Johnny comes in, it's a good point, that, Killer. We were saying on Saturday, like 1:30, 2 o'clock, the Crown. Even last season, mate, were packed at that time. And it's always a good gauge, I think, a town centre pub is like, and it's just, in the last 3 games I've been at home, there's no one that there. So it's like, it's you can see it in the town centre footfall, mate, and that as well. It's, people have gone, and it's really weird. It's like, it's good if you want to get a quick pint, but now it's like, everyone's looking, thinking, where is everybody? And yeah, I mean, how long do you think we're there on Saturday, Matt? What proper crowd?
12.
Yeah, that's it. It's only half full, isn't it? It's no more than that. But that's interesting that he's posted that Nagle, because I honestly wouldn't know how you could get them people back. I don't get it.
Hopefully it's not the same 4,000 every time. If it's the same 4,000 every time, you'd be like, why do you buy a season card if you're never going to turn up? Although some people, I have to caveat this, I should have done this earlier. There are some people who, I know some people are very sensitive about this. So there are some people who don't go for. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about those who, and there are some people as well who buy season cards who live in the Midlands, in London, in Lytham St Anne's or wherever, and it's a trek to get there. The M62 is a nightmare. Rottenstall, someone lives in Rottenstall and travels over from that area as well. And to me, that's fair enough. We're not talking about those people, and those people who've genuinely got things to do, jobs, etc. Some people work shifts and can only come every other week, etc. It's not necessarily those people we're talking about. It's those who kind of think, I can't be asked today. I'll find something else to do or something. It's how you re-energize those, Johnny. It's really, really weird as well, because we had this clear identity that everyone bought into. So we're going back to 7 years ago again. We had this really clear identity, this terrier spirit thing. David Wagner built this whole revolution up, really, didn't he? By himself almost. And, his face was all over the season cards and the posters and everything. And then when he left and Town got relegated, we found ourselves without a face in many ways. We didn't really know what we were. Were we now this team that was supposed to challenge at the top of the championship? And we didn't. We just spent 5 years essentially just bobbing along, not really knowing what we are, not really knowing what to get excited over, not really knowing what to do. And everything's just a mishmash of disconnected dots all over the place. And I think that plays into it a little bit as well, in that you want to essentially go and see something on the pitch that reflects you in some kind of ways. And I don't mean a fat bloke with a beard running around trying to do some kick-ups, etc. I mean, like, people from Huddersfield are hardworking. They're known as hardworking. Look on Twitter, people are always going about grafting, don't they? Graft, they've been grafting. And they want teams that work hard, that represent them, and they work hard. They want the team to work hard, that they go watch. Skill's not always the number one thing that people want to see. I love seeing passers like Nigel Lonvike on that we saw on Saturday, and Aaron Moy. That's my thing. But people want to see that creativity. They want to see something that they want to see, essentially. And we've not had that for 5 years. So I do get it from people just kind of going, I can't be arsed with this crap anymore. It's just not for me. And it's not for them because they don't know what they're seeing. They don't know what's in front of them. And Killer's right when he says everything's still rebuilding. We still don't know who we are. We've got an American owner, a foreign owner for the first time. He's looking at things now and he's trying to rebuild things a little bit in his image, which is fine. And some of the stuff he's done is really good so far with stuff around the stadium, and he's still finding his feet a little bit, I think, in some areas as well. But he's trying hard. He's trying to make us happy by spending his money, which is always appreciative. But I still don't think we quite know what we are as a football club yet. And maybe this is where Dominic Notafrancesco, is that how his name is pronounced? The guy that's coming with the brand image, etc. I think Huddersfield Town just needs direction again. And Michael Duff's someone I really like, a really good manager, but he's not a Wagner, is he? He's not that sort of leader who'll take you. He's not that cavalier. And Town fans, Cozzy, you say this all the time, love a big personality at the head of the table. Not to do Roman Reigns there, tribal chief, etc. Killer, I know you love that. But we don't have that sort of charismatic leader who's giving us something that reflects from ourselves to the pitch. And I think that's where it gets a little bit difficult. And I think in a place like Huddersfield with supporters that live all over the place and different little places, and every village is different in Huddersfield, isn't it, as well? And there are so many different things that people love and want to see, that it's very difficult to get everything right. Even people argue over the entrance music and stuff like that. People, I remember having numerous conversations about that. So it is a difficult balance to get right, especially for, and I'll include us in this, for a group of people who are never genuinely happy in the first place. So it's very difficult to get that right, isn't it? And I know it's a tough and sometimes impossible job for the football club to get it right. And maybe, and I think when winning football games is what your identity and what it is, you've got a problem, because you can't win every week, and everything then becomes up and down. So I just think there is something that Huddersfield fans need to nail their colours to, and something that they need, that everyone can get behind, and I'm sure we'll find it eventually. But it's just finding that little niche that everybody can buy into. People from Huddersfield, or people that travel down from Scotland or wherever, and that everyone can just tap into and go, yeah, that's my Huddersfield Town. That's what I want to see, and that's reflected in the football I see on the pitch. And I think it'll come under Michael Duff this season. I think we'll get on a roll at some point, and I think people will find their voice again. I think people will find the seats again as well. And I do think that we'll get it right. And I think we've got an owner who's absolutely desperate to get it right as well as a decent manager. And I think it'll turn for us. It's just a difficult period at the minute where we've just come out of a bad run. People aren't quite sure what they're seeing on the pitch. They're not quite sure what's going on off the pitch as well. And maybe things there's a lot of dots that still need connecting. But I think once we manage to do that, then I think people will start returning, and and Pozler will be back with his megaphone at the front again. I think he went on holiday, so I think we're giving him a hard time, but I think he genuinely went away for the weekend. But I think that's it from me on that point of view. I don't know if Cozzy's got anything he wants to add in on that one. He's just coughing his guts up off on mute at the minute.
No, just what you said there, Matt. I'm not sure what I'm seeing. It's really weird. I'm walking out thinking, we good, the other team's really bad. I'm kind of trying to work it out. It's a bit of a weird season for me, and I'm almost like wanting that kind of statement win. Hopefully tomorrow night at Wrexham will be the one, but where it's like, yeah, this is it. We're here, but I just don't know if we're here yet. But like you say, you can only beat what's in front of you, and it's just very strange at the moment. But I think that's probably what a lot of people are thinking. And yeah, that tomorrow night, I think such a big game in many ways, and that as well. It'd be interesting to see how we approach it. But I just think if you're winning at Wrexham, I know people are like, aye, Huddersfield are here. So
that's your hello moment, isn't it? That's the moment where everyone kind of goes, hello, what's going on? Yeah, I think that's it. But if we lose, I think that people will be back to typical town.
You mentioned bipolar fan base, but it is that, Matt. It'll be chaos tomorrow if we lose. Everyone's crap again. And on all this podcast, people, if they listen to this on Wednesday, if they've lost tomorrow, will be like, what are these guys on about? Talking to something crap again. But yeah, it's just. But when you've won half and lost half your games, Matt, it is a fair point. It's like, what?
It's a bipolar. It's been a bipolar season so far, hasn't it? We don't draw, we win or we lose, and it's fun. It's kind of fun at the minute in that way. But we're not here to win and lose every other week, are we? We're here to sort of we're hoping to push forward now, and we're hoping we've bottomed out, aren't we? And that we're now starting to recover, and maybe that's it. But I know everybody loves Huddersfield Town in their own unique way, don't they?
One of Phil Parkinson and all can't stand him, so let's hope we can get one over him there.
Yeah, he's a bit of a knob, isn't he? But that empty chair still rankles. I still can't believe they still went ahead with a press conference there and did it with an empty chair. That's just peak Huddersfield Town. I mean, Ken David.
Ken David thinking we're going to do it. It's not like him, is it?
I know. It's like I don't know what they thought. Whether that was going to make Phil Parkinson look bad. It didn't make Phil Parkinson look bad. It made Huddersfield Town look amateur. It was really bizarre, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just like everything though about that era was like really. So you look back and you think, oh, that's a little bit cringy. Is that with the goal music and other little things going on?
Well, that in a season video with our Cowboys or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that was Brokeback Mountain was massive at that moment, wasn't it? But that was interesting. I still can't believe we ain't got Phil Senior pictured with in the cowboy suit. Yeah, he managed to escape that. We'd have been able to use that against him for ages. But Johnny, any last words before we go? Ice packs on and everything.
Yeah, well, I'll be there. Not to make you all feel bad. And it's something to work out to try and keep my stitches dry and keep my leg elevated above hip height. So that's going to be a bit of an interesting one. But we'll think of something. But yeah, I'm very much up for Exeter from the Torquay angle. And then my mate who's a Torquay fan will be the biggest Town fan, and they're probably more up for than most Town fans on Saturday. So we've got a little bit more skin in the game. But I think it's just that, isn't it? I think, like you said, Matt, it's just over the last how many years it's been punch. I don't think we need to go up this year to kind of get that feeling back. I think it's just having something to get behind, a figurehead, someone you can think actually cares, because everyone's changed off the field, on the field, owners, managers, staff, people, even staff for the behind the scenes we had a bit of a connection with have gone. So if we can get that figurehead, get a bit of momentum, get some players who seem to give a damn, which I think we've got, a manager who seems to give a damn, which I think we've got, an owner which I think gives a damn, and hopefully we've got, I think things will start to see a bit of a change. But yeah, hopefully 2 wins will definitely get upward turn and have a bit more buzz around the stadium on Saturday.
Killer, we've not got a drive-in plan for Wrexham. We don't really do it for midweek games because you've got your Snow White with your 7 kids, aren't you? And I can't be bothered doing it, I'll be honest. But we can have a quick chat now about the Wrexham game. The Wrexham game it could be quite pivotal in a lot of ways, couldn't it? I mean, Wrexham, I think I was listening to something earlier. I think it was Michael Duff said it in the press conference earlier that they're unbeaten or something for like 18 months at home. They've won every game this season at home. It's not easy. That place is not easy to go. They've got momentum. And I keep saying this. I keep looking at Wrexham's team and I look at them and go, who getting our side from there? And I can't really pick anyone out apart from Elliot Lee I quite like. But I look at it and I think, I'm not sure they're that good. But what they've got is a manager who's got them brilliantly well drilled. They've got momentum. They've got that connection, which is incredible between the fans and the players and everything there. I mean, they've got Deadpool on in the club, which is cool as hell, isn't it? That's amazing. You know, they've got Ryan Reynolds, who's one of the most popular actors in the world, and Rob great who are doing things, and they're investing in the local area as well, which is fantastic, and they're really good owners. And you know, Wrexham have really kicked on, and the 13,000 there. And I've been to Wrexham before when they've been like 3,000 or 4,000. I remember because I don't know if you remember, but I went to Wrexham like 1998. A mate of mine who sadly died last year, even be the year before, who sadly passed away, drove us to Wrexham in about 50 minutes when we were like 19, not even that old, 17, 18. And it was one of the most frightening white knuckle rides I've ever had in a little white Vauxhall Corsa that we got there. And honestly, I swear I got there in about 45 minutes and watched Huddersfield Wrexham in the FA Cup. And I think Sam Collins might have scored for us that day.
Sure, didn't we, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1-1, and we won the and the replay was the Barry Rubery fireworks, I think. Might have been the fireworks. That might be 98, 99. And I just remember that game. At half-time, they had a fight in the centre circle between Terry the Terrier and the Robin mascot from Wrexham. So they had a proper fight in the middle, which you wouldn't be able to do these days. And it was Terry versus the Robin, and whoever knocked the other one down first won. And Terry twatted this Robin. It were amazing. So I can't believe they don't do these things anymore. So if you want to get the fans back, Kevin Nagle, you need to have Terry the Terrier handing out some batters to. Was quite funny, but I mean, Wrexham's going to be very tough because of their organisation, because of the momentum, because of their confidence. If we can go there and get something, I think it's a turning point for a lot of people. I think people start to be a bit more serious about us because we are so up and down. For me, I think Brodie might get the nod at right wing back. I think he'll probably keep Pearson and Lees. I think Brodie might play right wing back rather than Turton due to fitness and form, I think.
Matt, just to jump in there, Duff more or less said that today. He was talking about Turton potentially playing that right wing back, but then he said, "But Spencer's Brodie's back this week, and he's an international." So yeah, I think if he doesn't start tomorrow, it'd be a very, very big surprise.
Other than that, I think in terms of changes, I don't think we'll see many. I don't think he'll throw Hoggy in to this one. Hoggy might play more off the bench if we're clinging on to something. I think Herbie Kane's played well, but I think they'll be watching his minutes. They'll be watching Kasumu as well, because Kasumu's played quite a bit recently, although we've just had the international break and there's another one coming up. There'll be a lot to watch then. Even Exeter on Saturday, Johnny, they're above us in the league. So we've got 2 teams coming up who are in the top 6, top 2 in Wrexham's case. Wrexham 5 points ahead of us. If they go 8 points ahead of us at this stage, it's quite a tough one to draw that back. So Town need to get something. I think if we get something there, it'll be decent. I'm going to go 1-1 Killer, the first draw of the season. How about you? 1-1 and Bojan to score again.
Oh, I'd take that. And to be fair, Matt, yeah, I'll be with you with a 1-1 with Bojan again. It's really interesting tomorrow because we've only really had Birmingham away from Rotherham away.
I kind of think we'll lose. I'll be honest. I kind of think we'll lose, but I'm going 1-1 to be brave.
You and Cozzy, how negative can you two be in one podcast?
Don't blame me. I was going to say we're going to win here. But,
Nah, you were whinging before about the attendances, Cozzy. You're still living in my head. No, but it's really interesting because we've had Rotherham away and we lost that game. But realistically, we were in it for most of it and we should have won it apart from some dodgy refereeing decisions. Then the only other really tough away game, I think, where we've been outplayed was Birmingham. But we've not really turned up for it, have we? I know Reading away was a little bit different, but Birmingham away, we kind of went with that mentality of, oh, they're so much better than us. We have to just hold on. Now, every other team we've gone against away from home, Peterborough, Bolton, teams who on paper before the game, you think they're going to give us a good game here. We've played them off the park. And now Wrexham will be expected to win tomorrow night. They will be. They'll expect to win that game. They're on form. They're riding that crest of the wave that we want back, that Wagner wave we need back. We need that feel-good around the club. They've got that. But tomorrow night, they'll expect to win. And now this Town team play best against teams that come at us expecting to win the game. It's going to be a really interesting one tomorrow for us to see how we go.
Say it.
Do you know what though? Yeah, no, I've gone 1-1. I've gone 1-1 because we can't be bipolar the entire season, can we? We can't. What is it? 11 games, 6 wins, 5 defeats. Is that where we're at? That's off the top of my head. I might be wrong. I think that's what we're at. We're gonna have to draw one at some point. But I think tomorrow night plays into our hands in that we've won a couple of games, so our confidence is up. The only thing is Wrexham don't normally dictate possession. They kind of give the other team most of the ball most of the time, which is quite surprising for a team doing so well in the league.
Quite direct, aren't they?
They are direct. They're very, very direct. And to be fair, that's kind of what we were weak against up until the last couple of games. It's a really interesting one tomorrow. And again, I feel like I said this every second game this season so far, in that it's a pivotal one to dictate how the rest of the season is going to go. But for Town to want to compete for the top 2 or to get promoted either through the playoffs or top 2, tomorrow will show us exactly where we're at. And I think, like you say, Matt is going to stick with the same team apart from Brodie Spencer. So we'll get it's a real litmus test, isn't it? We're really going to see a little bit more and know a little bit more about us tomorrow night. It could go either way for me. We'll either play them off the park like Peterborough or Bolton, or we'll be taught a lesson. But I think coming the end of tomorrow, we'll know a lot more about where we're at.
Cozzy, what are you going for?
2-1 win, mate. Killer's not going to believe
there
it.
There it is, Cozzy. Yeah. There it is.
It is. I think it's going to, like I said, for that draw that Killer says, and then a late winner. And yeah, the fact that we've sold out really quickly as well. I think a lot of people were looking forward to the Wrexham game. So it's. But the guy was telling us should have paid more in. No, I'm doing the podcast with him, but I think they're 160th anniversary or something tomorrow. So they're a big night for them. So, but yeah, perfect for us, really. It does feel like almost like last season, doesn't it? Going to a kind of a team that we're not probably expected to get anything from. But I just want in that statement win to think, here we go. But knowing time, we'll win tomorrow and lose it on to Exeter. And then Johnny will be really mad because he hates Exeter. Look at
his other ankle will be gone. Thanks to the kicking seating. Go on, Johnny. Score prediction from you.
I don't. I'm torn between 1-1 and 1-0, but I'll go 1-0 to Town. I'm interested, like Killis, I'm interested how we'll get on because I think that Birmingham game, I think we were just a little bit not quite in the right mindset given the previous things. It's that weird test, isn't it? Because, like I say, you look at their team, you probably think, who would you pick? Not too many. Are more of a sum of the parts? And you think, well, there's nothing. You look at a Birmingham team, you think they should beat Town. Should beat Town 10 times out of 10. Wrexham shouldn't on paper. I know it's not played on paper, but I think we've got a bit of form. We've got a bit of balance. We've got players who've got points to prove and coming off a good result. I think there's a good chance we can get something, and I think we can hopefully try and just, push for that. Push Wrexham out of that top 2, maybe go for it. So I'm more confident than I was against Birmingham, but you'd be naive to look at Wrexham and think, yeah, we should beat them on paper because of how well they've done. And like I said, they've not lost it in decades at home. So I'm going to say 1-0 Town, and I'm going to say a Marshall goal, but I'll take a point.
There we go. if you are listening to this on Wednesday, you'll be able to see what idiots we are, or how on the button we are. So, Killer, we've not got a terrible record with predictions so far, have we? It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. But anyway, I think that's all we've got time for this week. So thanks, guys, for chopping in. Hopefully, it's not too bad this weekend coming up against Exeter. Driving will be back before the Exeter game as well, and also Jay and Joel with their post-match recovery show as well. So lots for you guys to get your teeth stuck into, and we'll catch you again pretty soon.